Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with coverage of the climax of the first event of the 2017 Grand Chess Tour. It was held in Paris in a television studio from Canal Plus without spectators, and there were 3 days of Rapid and 2 days of Blitz. It is the third year of the Grand Chess Tour and this is the schedule for 2017. Paris, 21st to 25th of June, that is what this video is about. Then a few days later they go to Leuven in Belgium for 3 days of Rapid and 2 days of Blitz as well. Then in July, August, the Sinquefield Cup, a classical tournament, straight away followed by St. Louis, Rapid and Blitz in the same city in the United States of America. And then finally in November, December, the London Chess Classic with also classical time control. A total of $1.2 million in prizes. After 5 days of battle in the Paris Grand Chess Tour, these were the standings. Maxime, Vachier-Lagrave and Magnus Carlsen with 24 out of 36. They had played 9 rounds of Rapid and 18 rounds of Blitz, but the Rapid rounds counted double. There were 2 points for a win and 1 point for a draw, and that's why it's here. It shows that there were 36 games played. In reality, there were 27 games played. Hikaru Nakamura 1 point behind, Grishuk 1 point behind Nakamura, and you can see the rest of the field. So with Vachier-Lagrave and Carlsen finishing on 24 points, a tiebreak had to be played to determine the winner of this event. 2 games of Rapid, 10 minutes plus a 5-second delay, then 2 games of Blitz, 5 minutes with a 3-second delay, and if still tied, then an Armageddon game. Let's have a look at the first tiebreak game. White Carlsen, black Vachier-Lagrave, played on the 25th of June 2017. 10 minutes plus a 5-second delay. d4 from Carlsen, knight f6, bishop f4, g6 and e3, the London system. An opening Carlsen had played all through the event. Bishop g7. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave always likes to fianchetto his king's bishop in all sorts of openings. Knight f3, d6, bishop e2, knight h5 going after the bishop, bishop g5, h6, bishop h4 and g5. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave really wants that bishop. Knight fd2, counter-attacking the knight on h5. Knight f4, an in-between move. Vachier-Lagrave wants to ruin Carlsen's pawn structure as well. E takes f4, g takes h4. Black has 2 bishops as compensation for his ruined pawn structure. c3, c5, take, knight a3. Carlsen wants to develop his bishop to c4 and then maybe through e3 to d5 or f5. The question for black is where does he put his king? Well, that question is answered very quickly. MVL castles kingside, and Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan in the commentating team said this is a very bold, very brave decision because that king does not have a lot of pawn protection. Carlsen castled as well. Knight c6, rook e1, h3, g3. Of course, that pawn on h3 is weak, but it also could become very strong if a queen ever lands on g2. MVL has to open the position for the bishop, so he plays e5, take, and knight f3. Those knights were swapped, and queen f6. MVL wants to develop his other bishop, and then the rooks to the central files, and he has active piece play. Knight c4 as planned, rook d8, the queen has to go, queen e2, bishop e6, and now taking the pawn on b7 is a bit too much. Let's look at a quick variation. bishop takes c4, queen takes e4, rook a b8, the bishop has to go, bishop e4 for example, and then rook takes b2 immediately regains the pawn. In the studio they also looked at another variation. They looked at knight e3, then rook d2, queen takes f3, it looks very dangerous on that diagonal, queen e2, queen c6, and maybe the bishop also wants to come to that diagonal, but if white defends this well, then white is better with the extra exchange. Carlsen did not take on b7 and he did not play knight e3, he played bishop g4. Those bishops were swapped, and then b5, not only hitting the knight, but the idea is to play b4 to put pressure on white's queenside pawns to improve that bishop on g7, which is at the moment looking at the c3 pawn. Knight e3, rook d2, hitting both the b and the f pawns. So rook e2, rook a d8, rook a e1, and here Grandmaster Sayaran said black has to play b4, and then for example queen takes h3, b takes, queen takes, and we have an equal position. MVL played it differently, he took on e2. Here Carlsen thought for some time, in the end decided to take with the rook, hoping to extract that tooth on h3 with his queen. MVL prevented that with queen e6. Queens were swapped. Black of course has a horrible structure, horrible pawn structure. He has the d file as compensation. Carlsen played king f1. His king on its way to defend the crucial squares on the d file. There comes b4, c takes, rook c2, and a nice move from MVL, instructive. He played b3. And because of the rook is attacked, Carlsen had to take, and then rook b8. Rook c6, attacking the e6 pawn. MVL cleans up the queen side, rook takes e6, rook takes b2, and knight f5. One of the threats is here rook g6, and the bishop will be pinned. He played bishop f8, knight takes pawn, king g7, and knight g4. That knight does a good job protecting the h2 pawn. He wants to push his f pawn, and then the h pawn is protected so that the h3 pawn will not become very dangerous. Black's only trump card is the a7 pawn, but of course that pawn can run very fast down the board. And there it goes, a5. White's problem is that his king is not participating, it's cut off and it cannot take part in the game. In an endgame you want all your pieces to play, also the king. Rook a6, rooks belong behind passed pawns. Rook a2 defending the pawn, and there goes the f pawn. a4, f5, bishop b4, rook check, king f8, and f6. This is a very important moment in the game. Here MVL should have played a3. And the game is in the balance. Let's look at a few moves for white. He cannot play knight e5 because then there is rook a1 check, and if you go to e2 there's rook e1 check and you lose the knight, and if you go to f2 that's even worse because then there is bishop c5 check and you lose the rook on a7. So knight e5 is not possible. Let's look at knight h6, another attacking move, trying to either checkmate the king or get the f-pawn further up the board. Well then, black has the beautiful move, very difficult to foresee, rook f2 check. If you take that rook, there is bishop c5 check, king f3, bishop takes a7, and the a pawn will go through to queen. If after rook f2 check you play king g1, which is the only other move, then there is rook takes f6. The knight is threatened, bishop c5 is threatened. Black wins. So back to the position after a3. Well, what else can you do? You can play rook a4, starting to harass the bishop, or you can look for a perpetual, starting with rook a8 check, and you keep the balance with white. But a3 was the move that MVL should have played instead of the bad move he played in the game, rook a1 check. Of course, it's very easy to criticize MVL here. He only had a minute left on the clock, and all these variations are not easy to foresee, not even for a super grandmaster like him. So he played rook a1 check, and that enabled Carlsen to activate his king. King e2, a3, and now you cannot play knight e5 again because of rook e1 check and you lose your knight. But Carlsen played knight h6. Good move. Rook e1 check anyway, king d3, rook e6, attacking the f-pawn, rook a8 check, and rook e8 is the only legal move. Rook back to a6, rook c8, and there comes the g-pawn to assist the f-pawn in the attack on the black king. Rook d8 check, king e4, king e8, g5, bishop f8, king f5, white is winning now, rook d2, rook a8 check, rook d8, and now Carlsen only needed a few seconds to calculate that he was going to win by trading rooks. Rook takes d8 check, king takes, g6, a2, that pawn cannot be stopped, but neither can white's pawn, and with g7 Carlsen wins a piece. Bishop takes, f takes, promotion, promotion check, king c7, queen g3 check, king d7, Carlsen takes the last pawn, he's now a piece and a pawn up, queen g7, king f4, discover check, king c7, knight f5, queen b2, queen h7 check, and now MVL should have gone to the 6th rank, but he went to the back rank, and after queen g8 check he resigned because he cannot avoid the queens being swapped. After king c7 there is queen g7 check, and the queens got swapped, and now we can all win this position against anybody. Great win from Carlsen. We've seen him do this many times, but it's always a pleasure to watch. In the second game, Vachier-Lagrave did not achieve anything with the white pieces. It was a draw, and Magnus Carlsen got his first big win of 2017, the Paris Grand Chess Tour. It brought him $31,250, it brought him 12 Grand Chess Tour points, and you can see that Vachier-Lagrave got the same amount of prize money, but 2 points less for the Grand Chess Tour. Nakamura, Grishuk, Mamedyarov, Karyakin, So, Caruana, Topalov and Bakro. And this is confirmation of Magnus Carlsen winning the 2017 Paris Grand Chess Tour. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel. Please leave a comment, and if you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on YouTube. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you very much for watching.